Do you want your concealer and foundation to last all day? I know you do, because everyone wants that. So today we're going to be going through how to apply your concealer and foundation in a specific way that actually helps your whole look to last all day. So stay tuned. Don't forget, I do have an online publication called Confessions of a Creative where you can head on over, where you have two options for subscription. One is free, where you get occasional access to posts. The other one is a paid subscription, which only costs around a coffee a month. And you get access to all of the articles, including beauty questions that you guys ask over here that I answer over there. Plus, we get a little room where we can actually chat there too. All different topics are covered, such as health, beauty, fashion, culture, self. You are going to love it there, and I write everything myself. Now, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Don't forget to come and check me out on Instagram too. Now let's get started with this video. So you want your concealer and your foundation, essentially your base, to last all day. We're going to get started with skincare. We're going to move straight into this. Now I'm using my moisturizer, and my moisturizer currently is the IT Cosmetics. I kind of alternate between this and my Rhode skincare range. Majority of the time, if I'm not filming, I use my Rhode. And when I'm filming, sometimes I'm like putting makeup on, taking it off, I use my IT Cosmetics Confidence in a Cream. So I'm using this moisturizer. Just going to kind of apply this all over. I find it's a really good generic moisturizer. Applying some eye cream. I'm using my Drunk Elephant Sea Tango. You got to make sure your skin is nicely hydrated underneath, but obviously not overly hydrated in the sense that, you know, you have too much product on. So we want to make sure that this product really sinks into the skin and it doesn't feel like there's kind of like a whole load of product anywhere. Now, what I'm going to do next is actually apply a primer. For this, I'm going to use a kind of cream primer, so nothing gel based. I'm going to be using the Fenty Beauty primer, and I'm just going to take 2 pumps of this and apply this all over my face. I'm just going to smooth it over. Don't rub it in. You want to basically create a nice even film over your skincare. That's it. Next, I'm going to get my powder, and I'm going to be applying a dusting of this all over my primer, and then I'm going to continue. So I'm going to be using my Makeup Forever Ultra HD powder in Light Banana. I've got the kind of large part of my veil brush. Very light dusting, so not a lot. And we're just going to like dust this all over. Now we're going to carry on with the next step. Now I'm going to be using my Tarte Shape Tape. Now, although I'm showing you the technique of how to keep your concealer and foundation on all day, I also am going to make it very clear that products do make a difference too. So I'm using kind of both of those sides of it. I'm going to be showing you the technique, which is the right way to keep your concealer foundation on all day, but also the best kind of products that I would recommend. Now, Tarte Shape Tape is one of them that I think honestly is probably one of the best concealers when it comes to like staying power. So I'm going to apply a little bit to my eyelids first. Let's just get that kind of nice and done. You know, I like to get the eyelids done and out of the way. So I'm using my sponge, and I'm just going to like buff that in. Let's just set the eye area so that it's done. I like to kind of just get that area out of the way. Okay, moving on. Now let's apply concealer to the areas that we want kind of like to disguise, like dark circles. But also I want my makeup to stay fresh and matte all day, right? Because obviously having it matte is going to help it to kind of like last even longer. If you don't want a matte finish, then you can kind of avoid either putting as much product on as I am, or you can kind of change the type of concealer. So I'm using the normal Tarte Shape Tape. You could use the ultra creamy, which isn't going to give you a super matte finish. So I'm just applying my concealer where I need it. You can apply it wherever you need it. I think that's, well, maybe a little bit here. I kind of tend to like having a little bit there. Let's buff this in on the under eye area. Okay, let's also buff this in I just don't like it to be dark there. I like the brightness this adds. Now I do want just a bit of sculpt, kind of just a bit of sculpting. And I am literally just gonna keep this in the same place. Just make sure it's nicely kind of blended out. But I don't want to change the positioning. So you can see that I'm keeping the brush kind of in the same place. Got the foundation. Now I'm going to get my sponge. Now this foundation is my NARS Sheer Glow foundation. And I'm going to take my sponge, buff it into the foundation, start from my forehead, just bouncing the sponge all over. It makes such a huge difference by buffing the sponge into the foundation first, because you don't end up with kind of like a bulk amount of product anywhere. Go down the nose and then this side of the face. As you can see, I like to work my way down. Kind of found a newfound love for this foundation. I liked it before, but I just like it even more now. I hadn't used it for so long. I think maybe because I didn't have my colour right before. I was using Barcelona and it was too light for me. And then I found Aruba and I was like, wow, this is so good for my skin tone. And now I really like the foundation. So you can see how we've applied the foundation all over. We've got that really nice coverage everywhere. And it's applied really smoothly considering we've got the powder on top of the primer. We applied that primer on top of the primer. Did I say primer on top of the primer? I mean, I don't even know if I said that right. Maybe I did, but just in case. When we applied the powder on top of the primer, there's just too many P's going on, that's what it is. So when we did apply the powder on top of the primer, what we were doing essentially is kind of locking in everything, but also helping to give a really smooth finish. So that kind of like underneath layer, underneath the powder, is really helping to keep everything on there. It kind of locks in that moisture, so that moisture isn't kind of coming through the makeup, because ultimately we want our skincare there to work on our skin and not kind of distort or disturb anything that goes on top. So it's kind of like locking it in. Your primer generally does do that. Here's the thing. The primer, the texture is a similar texture to your skincare. It's fluid in some way, right? By applying the powder on top of your primer, what you're essentially doing is locking everything in, because it is a different texture. You're kind of mattifying it and holding it in. So what we use powder for is to set your makeup, right? So what we're doing is setting our skincare, and then we're actually applying everything on top of the powder, and it gives a nice smooth finish anyway. So that's really going to help to kind of help your makeup to last a lot longer. So you can see we've applied it. Makeup has gone on as normal. You don't need to worry about anything going on weirdly and not working right on top of the powder, as long as you didn't press it into the skin. You just want a dusting of the powder. Now we're going to go back over with our powder. So we've got the powder puff, we've got the powder, we've got the sponge to just take out any excess product out of the fine lines that I have on my under eyes. Get the powder onto the puff. Press, because that is what is going to help your foundation to last longer. Same thing on the other side. Pressing your powder on is the ultimate way to keep your foundation and your concealer in place. We've got it all over the face. Now you could dust it off with a brush, or you could continue pressing it into the skin, which is actually going to give you an even better or longer lasting base. I would always still suggest to dust it off from the under eyes, because I feel like it just could end up looking kind of powdery and cakey if you press it on the under eyes, but everywhere else you can kind of press in. Let me just very quickly do my brows and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so brows are done. I'm just going to curl my eyelashes. So I want to just kind of like, just add a few like little finishing touches. And then, you know, by that time, I've kind of had the makeup on for a little while as well. So it's kind of like settled into the skin. So you can see what it looks like, as opposed to, you know, when you first freshly apply it. So I'm going to use my mascara, which is the Maybelline Sky High Mascara, which I'm loving at the moment. No wonder this is so viral. So I'm going to apply this. The only thing is like when you curl your eyelashes, like you will without fail get mascara on your lid, so you've really kind of got to look down into the mirror. I've got the mirror down here, and you don't want to over curl them either, because they can end up looking like they've got a dent in the lash as opposed to kind of a nice curl. But this mascara is so good. I mean, it applies really nice. I haven't really taken notice of how my lashes look later in the day. I probably should do, you know, to see if they actually keep shape, because otherwise that would just be pointless, wouldn't it? But when I first applied this mascara, I love it. It kind of gives you that kind of, I'm not going to say false lash. I feel like it gives you that look of when you have lash extensions. You know, when you go and get individual lash extensions, it gives that kind of look, which is quite nice. Okay, what else can we apply just to finish it off and look a bit more kind of like done? I'm going to apply my lip pencil. Okay, so this is my lip cheat from Charlotte Tilbury. Just going to lightly line the lips. I like to kind of just buff it inwards just so it doesn't look so done. Okay, so this is my Nude Sticks Hydropeptide Lip Butter in Candy Kiss. I do need some moisture, so that's why I'm using a lip butter, but it has a tiny bit of colour in there. Yeah, it's just like a little bit of a pinkish colour. So there you go. I'm not going to apply anything else because I really want you guys to just see like the base in itself and not kind of disturb it with any bronzer or anything like that. So this is what it looks like. So by now, if I had not applied that powder underneath my foundation, it would have looked a little bit more kind of lived in. So you'd get to that nice stage of your makeup quicker. But if you ultimately really want it to last a lot longer, then powder on top of your primer before your foundation, and then powder again after your foundation and concealer is going to work really well to just give it that extra push to help it last all day. I would say probably in about an hour or so, my skin will start to look a bit more settled down, but it's going to last all day. So this will literally keep my makeup on all day. Honestly, try this, guys. I think you're going to like it. I think it's going to be something that you're going to end up like doing most of the time. I would recommend ensuring that you use an ultra fine powder. This is a micro fine powder. It's the Makeup Forever Ultra HD powder. So the pigments are not too chunky. I wouldn't use something like the Laura Mercier translucent powder because I find it's quite chunky. So you want something super, super fine. Use something which is really, really fine so that it isn't kind of adding a lot of product on your skin. It's like so fine. So yeah, I think you got the gist. It's ultra fine. So yeah, basically that is what is really important, along with obviously the technique. And I have mentioned textures wherever I felt that it was important to mention it. But this is going to keep your makeup in place. It looks flawless. It will last all day. And yeah, you don't even have to worry about it fading or looking dull or anything like that. So you are welcome. Wherever you are in the world, I'm sending you loads of love. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Until the next video, take care and I'll see you soon.